Dzień dobry. Ha! Gotcha! What is up, guys, and welcome back to episode. Today I'm going to be reacting to Geography Now, Poland. Yes, I'm going to be reacting to a state that is Estonia's ally. Kinda. Okay, before we begin to this reaction...
Alright, we've reached Poland.
Okay, before we begin this reaction, I want you guys to like the video and subscribe. And also, guys, thanks for almost 100 views on the reaction to Finland. If I saw you guys liked that video, so I'm gonna do this on Poland, and probably the next video will be on Estonia, or maybe if Sweden comes out, maybe Sweden will be, but less likely because they're carrying this right now. They're carrying with SO, the countries there, and Spain is actually the next video of these guys, and after Spain should be somehow, I don't know. So yeah, so you guys did that? Okay, let's go.
Poland, Europe's, how can I put this? Poland knows how to take a hit. It's like...
Yes.
Is that all you got? I'm not even breaking a sweat,
It's time to learn geography now!
By the way, this is my buddy Art. He's half Polish. Art, do you know anything about Poland?
I know nothing about Poland, but I know my last name means on Friday.
On Friday. I don't know how would that be in Polish. I do know a little bit Polish, but it's not really good. If you saw my last video, like a few hours ago, I told you guys all my Polish, and I didn't say Friday or on. Wait, on? I didn't say it.
So anyway, I have another Polish friend named Conrad who's actually also going to be in this episode. He's Polish and he speaks Polish.
Hey, that guy.
Well, Art, you can also play Poland in the skits and stuff in this episode. Is that cool?
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright, cool. Anyway, hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Welcome to the Wolverine of Europe. The Poles know how to deal with calamity, and if there was ever a mutant apocalypse, you would probably want one on your team. In any case, let's begin. How to piss off a Polish person 101. Oh man, I just visited Poland. I sure loved that Eastern European country. It's Central Europe.
I mean, like, yeah, they don't really like being called Eastern way too much, but I mean, like, even if they would be Central, they kind of look like a Eastern Central country. So just remain with that fact. I mean, it doesn't really look like you're Central, but whatever.
European. Yeah, they don't like being called Eastern Europe, even though, I mean, come on, they're kind of more on...
I mean, like, sure, like, generally, I'm just gonna show you the guys that consider themselves Central Europe. But basically, all of this, kind of like this here and some parts of Northern Italy, like, basically, something like all this, and maybe Lithuania, Lithuania not, is like Central Europe. And I don't know why they call themselves Central Europe, especially Poland, that looks like, it's like northeast, so, you know, like the Estonians, we're North European. I don't know. Okay, let's continue.
On the eastern side of the continent, and it's okay, Central European, Central. The country is located in Central Europe and bordered by 7 other countries. Keep in mind this little guy right here is a detached exclave of Russia called Kaliningrad.
Yeah, I think Kaliningrad is also the only city on that exclave. I don't even know what happened to it during the Soviet times, because like the USSR covered like almost from this, and here started Czechoslovakia, which goes like this. Hey, I'm pretty good at geography.
Leningrad. Speaking of which, we already mentioned this in the Germany episode, but Poland shares an island called Usedom, or Uznam, with Germany in this lagoon.
Hold on, can I pronounce this? Szczecin Lagoon. Okay, Szczecin Lagoon. I think that's how you pronounce it, because the city Szczecin is somewhere right here. I think this is the city, or I don't know where.
The borders follow some natural boundaries like rivers and mountains. However, most of them were agreed upon after war times. The country is divided into 16 voivodeships, or provinces.
Voivodeships, I think. Okay, now let's look at the West Pomerania, Masurian, Boslakie, Lublin, okay, Lutz, there's actually a city, Lutz, and Białystok, which is one of the cities, is right here. I think this is where Białystok is. Warsaw is like right here somewhere. Okay, okay, so let's continue. Lublin, Subcarpathian, Lesser Poland, Greater Poland, okay, Svetokracie, Silesia, Napolia, Lower Silesian, Lupsis, Greater Poland, Kayavian, and Masyowa. Okay.
The capital and largest city of the country,
Oh wait,
Warsaw.
that was Warsaw. I said Białystok was Warsaw. I'm an idiot. Białystok is kind of far away from Poland. It's like more to Belarus around it. Białystok is like somewhere right here.
Divided into 16 voivodeships, or provinces, the capital and largest city of the country, Warsaw, in the center. It also holds the busiest airport, Warsaw International. From there, the second largest city is Krakow, known as the
Krakow. Krakow. That's how you pronounce it. Krakow. I think that's even how you pronounce it. Or Krakow. If any of you heard about the Kingdom of Krakow or the Duchy of Krakow, I think there was a duchy and a kingdom. There was one kingdom during I think they're gonna mention this soon. If they don't, I'm gonna have to search it up because I forgot how it was called. Kingdom of Krakow, I think during the Napoleonic Wars it existed.
The medieval capital down south, and it holds the second largest airport, John Paul II Krakow International. And rounding out for third place is the city of Łódź, which means boat.
Lutz. Yes, it does mean boat. And I also mentioned this in my last episode, but the L with this is pronounced as L, like L. L. That's how you pronounce it, and everything's kind of how you pronounce it.
Nearly in the center of the whole country. Nonetheless, the city of Gdansk holds the third.
Gdansk. Also, if you guys don't know, the more popular name of this city is Danzig. If everybody's heard of Danzig, that's how the Germans say Gdansk, because it's kind of strange to know a German would say Gdansk. Also, this is not too far away from. This hadn't been. Wait, is it far away? Yeah, it is far away actually. What am I talking about?
Third largest airport, Gdansk International, and also the busiest shipping port located on the Baltic Sea, where much of the cargo comes into the country. Otherwise, their entire sea access is confined to the coastline. They do not own any distant islands in the Baltic. Due to the general flat landscape making much of the north and central parts, Poland.
Well, they are part of the Great Northern European Plain, and there was even one video, a man saying that Poland's geography was the worst because they can be invaded from all sides. Like, only the Carpathians right here is less likely they can't be invaded, but the Soviets attacked them from here, the Germans attacked them from the Great Northern European Plains. That's how you can put Poland in a way that geography isn't the best, but it's not their fault. Or maybe it is. I don't know.
Poland is a bustling transport hub with numerous roadways that traverse every single corner into every neighboring nation. Since joining the EU, nearly 2 billion euros have been invested in Poland's rail lines, and high-speed lines are being constructed today. Poland doesn't have any autonomous areas, but if we had to discuss historical and cultural regions, many people may just refer to this general area as Masuria, sometimes even historical Prussia. This general area is Pomerania. That's right, same as the dog, which is where it comes from. And
Pomeran, that's how the Bulgarians call it. The Swedes, I think, call it Pomeran, but I'm not sure exactly how they call it.
The coastal area is Kashubia, where the Kashubians are mostly found. There's Greater Poland, Lesser Poland, which at the very border has Ruthenia or Red Ruthenia. Parts of the south are considered Silesia, which are inhabited by peoples that have their own distinct culture apart from the Polish. It's all kind of confusing, and we'll talk more about it later. One thing you have to understand is that historically, Poland had a lot of different types of administrative divisions, and much of it was shaped by war. Sometimes they had more land, other times they had less, and for 123 years they kind of disappeared altogether. Here's Prussia!
Russia!
Austria! Well, actually, they almost completely disappeared. I mean, Krakow was technically...
Yeah, Republic of Krakow. It's actually called the Kingdom of Krakow, the true name. I mean, the Republic of Krakow, Kingdom of Krakow, that's kind of how it is. But, like, that hadn't been for a long time. It's like for, 40 years, I think.
A free city-state for about 30 years. And keep in mind...
30 years. Almost got it.
We mentioned this in the Lithuania episode, but if you want to be incredibly technical, historically, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth had some colonies. Way back yeehaw, when they thought one island in the Gambia, as well as Trinidad and Tobago, would be good overseas investments, making them the only sites that the Polish had colonized outside of Europe.
Then what happened?
In the end, it was too hard for them to manage, and they sold them off. The end.
Yeah, that's kind of the collapse of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Or the Polish Empire. Like, the Wing Hussars come from there.
Huh.
Oh, by the way, I use this for my video editing. This is my new video editor.
A video editor for all creators.
What you doing there?
So anyway, here are some places of interest you guys, the Polish Geography, suggested we mention in this episode. They have quite a few UNESCO heritage sites.
Okay, let's see if we can... Oh, okay. Skalpak. Seems like Moscow Park.
A lot of them are like chapels. The Holy Mountain of Kabarka, the painted village of Zalipe, Chopin's Heart, this rock city, the
Oh, wait. Upside down.
Holy Mountain of Kabarka, the painted village of Zalipe, Chopin's Heart, this rock.
Okay, let me try to pronounce this. Бледные скали. Скали. Бледные скали. So, pretty much the Slavic nations, the Slavic languages are almost the same. So, I think I can translate it a little bit. Бледные means something like blended, not exactly blended, but something like that. And skali means skali. Skali means rocks, like the rocks that are on the mountains, those rocks, but stone. I don't know how you call it.
Rock City, the Upside Down House, Kościuszko Mound, the
Kościuszko. Yeah, I know this one. The Carrot House, World's Narrow House. It's literally like between two blocks in Warsaw.
Carrot House, the world's most narrow house. Tons of cool statues and monuments.
Oh, this is
Kościuszko Mound, the Carrot House, the world's most narrow house. Tons of cool statues.
yeah. So basically, like this is really cool. Oh, this is definitely from Little Secession. What? Yeah, this is definitely from the Warsaw Uprising. This just can't be.
Statues and monuments like these. The world's tallest Pope statue. Tons
What? That was strange.
of World War II sites. It's kind of what they're known for. With the most famous one probably being the Auschwitz.
Oh, the concentration camp is like one of the biggest concentration camps in Europe that's still existing to this day. So many Jews were killed in this camp, and many Poles also during the German occupation of Poland during World War II.
Concentration camp. Of course, there are way too many churches like these.
Oh, they're like half of their country is like in churches, I bet.
This one was where all the former kings were coronated. And of course, there's Warsaw's St. John's Cathedral. There's a bunch of synagogues that actually survived World War II. And there's even a wooden mosque for the Tatar minority in Kruszyniani. There's so many museums and galleries. Here's a bunch of notable ones. And too many castles, but they're very proud of having the world's largest medieval castle in Malbork. Yeah, Poland does not
Wait, Maribor? Did he say Maribor or Malbork? I didn't hear.
fall short when it comes to sights to see, or things to do, or nature to explore. And that means we move on to the next segment, the... It is said that the name Poland comes from Polani, which means people living in open fields. Poland is not all flat and not all plains. There's much more to it than you think. Poland is generally divided into 5 physical regions: the coast, the lakelands, the Polish plain, the Polish uplands, and the mountain regions. Much of Poland's coast along the Baltic Sea is straight until you hit the east and you get these interesting natural formations called spits. We've already talked about them in the Lithuania episode, but basically, spits are thin, narrow sandbanks that divide the sea from another body of water, creating saltwater lagoons, the largest one being the Bay of Puck, the Szczecin, and the Vistula Lagoon, shared with Russia's Kaliningrad exclave. Much of the country inland lies on the flat Polish plain.
Wait, did he say Stula or Vistula?
Lagoon, shared with Russia's Kaliningrad exclave.
Hold on. Let me forget it.
Being the Bay of Puck, the Szczecin, and the Vistula Lagoon, shared with
He always says Stula Lagoon for some reason.
Russia's Kaliningrad exclave. Much of the country inland lies on the flat Polish plain, part of the greater North European plain, a huge open flat...
Wait, the Great North European Plain comes from like France and extends somewhere today, yes.
segment of Central
Why am I pausing at all?
Europe that extends across multiple countries. Many people say that this is both the blessing and curse of Poland, because although a third of the country is forested, this one being the largest national park, and about a third is arable, making them a powerhouse contributor to Europe's agriculture sector, it did kind of make it easy for outside forces to enter and invade, with little or no natural obstacles barricading the interior of the country. Anyway, within this plain, many rivers like the Notek, the Warta, and the longest river, the Vistula, meander through the fertile valleys, passing through many important cities like Warsaw. In the north side, you have 2 massive lake districts, the Pomeranian and the larger Masurian, which also holds the largest lake of the country, Lake Śniadwy. The further south you go, the higher the elevation gets until you hit the Poland uplands. A little further south on the border with the Czech Republic and Slovakia, you find the 2 main and largest mountain chains, the Sudets and the Beskids, which form the north part.
Oh, Sudetenland. Many of you probably heard of Sudetenland. The Sudetenland comes from the mountain Sudet, which goes through the Czech. Like, Sudetenland is basically this area here. Like, you see the mountain kind of travels to right here. And then it's like Czechia, that's where Sudetenland is. That's why they call this Sudet.
part of the larger famous Carpathian mountain chain. Here you can also find the tallest peak, Mount Risse, right on the border of Slovakia. Alright, and that just about does it. Now I need my triple shot of espresso break, and this time Art is going to come in to finish off the physical geography section.
What do you want me to say, Barbie?
The next thing on the teleprompter.
Now, as you can see by this point, Poland has a lot more than just flat plains and lakes. They even have moving sand dunes in the north and a small desert in Boyenduf, which literally translates to mistakes.
Wait, does that really translate to mistakes? Wait.
In the north and a small desert in Boyenduf, which literally
Bliendov. Why did he say Blienduf? Bliendov. Bliendov. It's Bliendov. Why do... Literally the high tones are both on E and O. That's really strange. No, wait. I still haven't really seen how this E is pronounced, but the O definitely says that there's a high tone.
translates to mistakes. Yeah, Poland, deserts. You never think those two would go together, right? Oh, and there's also a crooked forest made up of trees that bend at a 90-degree angle. Many people have theories as to how it got that way. Some say it's natural, some say it was a dude trying to make chairs. In any case, Poland is a major producer of apples, 6th in the world, as well as being the world's largest treacle. Treacle? What the heck is treacle?
What is treacle, really? Well, I gotta search that up. Treacle. Okay. Some sort of oil, I guess? I guess that's some sort of oil.
And amber exporter. I don't even know what amber is either. What is that? Petrified tree sap?
It actually is.
It is.
I know.
Whoa! Today, though, Poland's economy is now mainly driven by the service sector and industry, with main products like machinery and cars, buses, and video games being their largest export.
Yes, one of my games, I think it was Life for Speed, was either Polish or Czech. I think it was Polish, though. Yeah, it was definitely Polish. Like, there wasn't the H straight R. The R with the Czech on top.
Anyway, Poland also has quite a few endemic animal species like storks, Eurasian lynx, roe deer, and they have one of the largest populations of the rare European bison, which, have you guys ever had a bison burger? I mean, that's like really good. All right, don't eat those. Those are endangered. And bears. In fact, a bear once served in the Polish army, and there's a statue dedicated to him. Look it up.
Wait, hashtag? Wojciech. Wojtek. Okay, why am I pausing so? Oops. Wait. Okay. When we go to images, he's already here. Okay, looks like we do have some cool bears that served in the Polish army.
Good old Wojtek. Anyway, time to finish up with food. Some of the top Polish dishes, you guys, the Polish Geograpy peeps.
That's what I call them, Art.
Suggested we mention include things like bigos, cabbage rolls, galanka pork knuckle, roasted duck served with honey and apples. So many soups like these. But the national dish being sour rye soup. And of course, the most popular dishes many people have heard of, pierogi.
Pierogi. Okay, so now I'm gonna just say obvious. Kraków, kiełbasa, and kabanos. Kabanos, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Kielbasa, kabanos, and Krakow-style sausage. And bagels! Yes, bagels originated from Poland, from the Polish Jews, not New York.
But they did move to New York.
Oh, and of course, you cannot talk about Poland without mentioning vodka. Some say it was invented.
The Polish drink so much vodka that they literally drink to death. Like, when I go to the store, at least 50% of all the alcohol would be Polish vodka. Or maybe Russian too, but most of the time it's either like some Latvian stuff or maybe some vodka. That's he's mentioned.
Invented in Poland. Some say the Polish just make really good vodka.
I mean, the true thing is it was invented by some Russian Polish guy in 1730, in the 17s, about like I don't know, because water in Polish, I think, is voda. While in Russian, it's, I think, the same thing.
Vodka. But either way, vodka usually takes up a huge section in most Polish groceries.
Yeah, this is like what you see in the Estonian market. Like, maybe like 2 here would be, you know, Russian vodka, and all that is Polish.
Grocery stores. I've seen this guy on vodka.
No, you haven't. That was Knob Creek whiskey, and we don't talk about that here.
Polish people know what they like. They're a distinct people.
Wow. In Estonia, they do that a lot. Like, putting just flags on their cheeks.
Speaking of which, we now move on to...
And of course the dumbass. Okay, let's just skip demographics.
Thank you, Art.
Thanks.
Demographics. What? Okay.
Can I do like one of those special effect outros, like, you know, Wolverine theme? Can I have the claws or something like that?
Sure, yeah, go for it. Here.
Okay. Is it true if I kill you, I become you?
Let's find out.
Wow.
Oh,
That actually works.
it does work. Now, some of you guys have told me, in Poland, there's kind of like a word that sums up the Polish mindset. Załatwić. It means something
Załatwić.
along the lines of accomplishing tasks and taking care of business. Half of everybody in Europe has probably at one point at least encountered a Pole. They're everywhere, working. Polish doctors in Germany, Polish contract workers in London.
Yeah, in Estonia, I think Well, while I was in Bulgaria also, I think there was like this Polish family. No. My class had had two Italians. Yeah. I think I've met a Polish, but I'm not sure. I was so young, I didn't even know if they were German or Poles. But I did know Germany and Poland were different countries back then. Because while in Estonia, I still haven't met a Pole. Strange.
London, Polish bus drivers in Iceland. Work is in their blood, and it's a huge part of who they are. The population is about 40 million. However, keep in mind, diaspora-wise, there are about 20 million Poles living abroad, and they are the second largest Slavic group after Russians. The country is incredibly homogenous, with about 96% of the population claiming to be Polish, which is part of the Slavic family group. This makeup is mostly due to the Nazi intervention of World War II and Soviet relocation policies of the 20th century that drastically changed the previously diverse population. The country has few minority groups. However, of the minorities, the largest groups would be the Silesian at about 1.3% and the Kashubians at just under 1%. The rest is mostly made up of other Europeans like Ukrainians, Belarusians, Czechs, and non-Europeans. They use the Polish zloty as their currency.
Wait, don't they use the euro? I think they use the euro. Hold on. When was this uploaded? Literally like 2 years ago. Okay, I'm gonna put later in the description if I remember to what they use.
They use the type C, E, and F plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now, of course, the main language of Poland is
Język polski. Yes? It means language Polish, but it really means Polish language.
of course, Polish. Lots of people say Polish is like really hard to learn. For one, they have 7 cases of speech and too many consonants that are smashed all together at once.
What do you mean it's... If you're like somebody from... I don't know, maybe the Slavs, maybe if you're from Czechia, it's just no. I mean, like, the Polish don't really understand the Czechs, but still, if you're like one of those people, like, I don't know, say the Slovaks or Croatians or I don't know who, it's not too hard to learn it. I already know a little bit of Polish. What do you mean it's so hard? I mean, okay, yeah, Swedish, Chinese, okay, if you're like not from them, but still. For English speakers, Estonians, they're the Nordic languages and many other can be hard. But still.
Geography Pavel says the Polish language is basically just spoken Wi-Fi passwords. Here's Conrad with a Polish tongue twister.
Chrząszcz brzmi trzcinie w Szczebrzeszynie I Szczebrzeszyn z tego słynie.
Oh my gosh. I can only say one word that I saw. I heard a girl. That was really strange.
Sometimes even the Polish people say they have to polish up on their Polish. Otherwise, Poland is kind of a sociological anomaly. Even though they are Slavic, it's kind of like the easternmost extent of Latin influence, which explains why the majority at around 86% identify as either Catholic or, in the very least, nominally Catholic, varying degrees of devotion. Catholicism plays a huge role in Polish culture. They even have a channel dedicated to the Pope on TV. Politically, Poland is usually a more conservative nation that holds to its roots, and even though they're part of the EU, they usually do not let anyone tell them how they should run things in their own country. It's their home, their rules. It's like, alright, so it's settled. What do you think of this proposal for the union, guys?
I hate it.
Now, Poland, you're a key player. We need you to like this.
I still hate it.
Come on, Poland, don't be stubborn.
Oh, really, Germany? You want to come back to Poland again and tell us how to do things around here? Do you remember what happened last time?
Oh my. Are you really gonna play this card again?
I always will.
Little exaggerated, but yeah, don't push the Polish. They've gone through tons of that. I mean, literally, like a fifth of their population died during World War II.
If you don't know your school sucks at teaching. Dude, they don't even teach us at school about these things. Like, they don't. Who knows why? I mean, like, they don't teach us, but I do know about this thing, like, what, a few years now. I know that the Polish have invaded What? The Germans have invaded Poland. What am I talking about?
The majority of whom were Polish Jews. Often in tight-knit Yiddish-speaking communities, Poland had one of the highest populations of Jews prior to World War II, and at one point up to 10%. They played a huge historical role in what Poland was and would be. Poles are proud that they were the only European-occupied country to never collaborate with the Nazis. They never officially surrendered, and all those years the Nazis were there.
Yes, they were like the Soviets and the Germans just crashed through, but the Polish, the Polish uprising was one of those. The Poles they just kept fighting until like the last Pole was dead, and eventually and just like that they kind of took down Germany's supplies for to fight. Let's say it like that, because Germany even though it's like fighting here, fighting there, it still does need to have some supplies to hang out against the Poles. And if they don't, the Poles will just break free and they'll eventually be doomed to surrender. So that partially explains why Germany lost World War II. Not all of it, even if they completely destroyed the Poles, they still would have lost it.
There, the underground army kept fighting. Poles have an incredibly complex history. I mean, they had a weird electoral monarchy thing. Conrad, explain.
So the royal elections of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth became a thing after the death of the last Jagiellonian on the Polish throne. And at his death, it was decided that there would not be a royal dynasty that would just continue from generation to generation. That is to say that they would elect a king from a royal dynasty in Europe, but after his death, they would once again elect another monarch instead of letting his children take over the Polish throne.
Thank you, Conrad. Taking all that heavy stuff in, Polish people have told me there's always kind of like this sense of somber, stoic, suspicious, cynical, yet productive and prudent mentality that encapsulates the Polish. It's a weird paradox when you see them, because it's like...
Ugh, being Polish is the worst. Seriously.
I know, right? I hate Polish sausages. They're so gross.
They are, and
Oh,
the
this
government.
is like, you basically just tell yourself being Polish is the worst, but then somebody says being Polish is dumb and they just beat you up. Is that true? Because in Bulgaria, it was kind of like that, but some people kind of do agree. I personally don't agree that Bulgaria is the worst nation in the world, but it's not the best nation in the world. I mean, like, the economy, yeah.
Government is just totally whack.
Yeah, Poland is terrible. What did you f***ing say?
You can't say that. You're
True. That's true.
not from here.
Yeah!
Well, that took a little longer than expected, so here's Hannah with culture stuff.
Good to be back. Polish people have gone through a lot. They were pretty much fought for and invaded over 40 times for about 400 years. Nonetheless, the Polish people held through those centuries and retained their sense of identity. For one, in Poland, it is actually just as popular, if not maybe even more, to celebrate one's name day as well as your birthday.
Not only that, but I only think that Poland and Bulgaria celebrate them, because in Estonia, it's barely even celebrating your name's day. I mean, my name isn't even Estonian, so I don't have a name's day. But in Bulgaria, my name's day is actually in less than a month. My name's day, according to the Bulgarian religion, is on the 2nd of May, which is also when the Bulgarian Easter steps in. So that's a pretty big coincidence. And, yeah, so Poland and Bulgaria, I do know that both of them celebrate Names Day. I can't tell which celebrates more, but I would say Poland does celebrate more because they are more Christians than Bulgaria, because Bulgaria has like 10% Turks, and that kind of makes us sucking at the Bulgarians. Like 10% of the Bulgarian population is Turks, and that makes 10% of them, maybe even more, Islam. Muslims. Yeah, Muslims. What am I talking about? So, yeah, let's continue.
Poland has quite a high level of tertiary educated individuals, with about 80% of the young adult population having
Dang, that's a really cool school.
enrolled in university. Also, side note, the 35% of Polish people living abroad are referred to as Polonia. There's a contest where we figure out who is the strongest man in the world, and Poland has won the most of those contests. Then we have the Silesian and Kashubian minorities. Let's let Conrad explain this one because, it's a little complex.
The Silesians, who live for the most part today in Upper Silesia, are an ethnographic group.
Yes, even this part of the Czech Republic is actually, hold on a minute. So, this part of, Poland here, Czech Republic, actually pays more attention to Poland since more people from Poland, actually from not Poland, from the Czech Republic, pay attention to Poland since like many Polish people live there. I don't know why, but this area here is fully by I don't know, I forgot who.
Group with a distinctive dialect of Polish. Internationally, though, it's considered not as a nation or people, though some within the region consider themselves as a nation.
Wow. Wait, can I read this? Slonzuki. Okay, I can read it.
Which the Kashubians are, and they are considered as a West Slavic people separate from the Polish people. They are loyal towards Poland, but they have their own recognized minority status, they have their own traditions, they have their own cuisine, and they have their own language. There are even bilingual signs, which Paul will definitely put in now.
Thank you, Conrad. They've also racked up quite a few Nobel Peace Prizes at 17. They are frontrunners of innovations and inventions like kerosene and the kerosene lamp, the oil well, the bulletproof vest, and the modern drug test. A lot of festivals can be found year-round throughout the country and in different regions. Popular ones include All Saints' Day, May Day, the La Cognac Festival in Krakow, and during Christmas you might see the creepy Turon everywhere. To expound a bit more on Polish music and arts, here, is Keith, or whatever.
Music in Poland goes way back to its ancient Slavic roots. Instruments typically used include things like the wood horn, the hurdy-gurdy, the horse hair drum, the pedal accordion, and the suka.
What you call me?
Even though he
Wait, they really call that a suka?
horse hair drum, the pedal accordion, and the suka.
That also looks very small. It looks like literally it's like this big. Wait, this big. That's how big it looks like to me.
What you call me?
Even though he had spent most of his time in France, Chopin was born in Poland. His homeland was always one of the central themes to his often somber and melancholy masterpieces cherished worldwide. During the Polish National Revival, this dude collected varieties of folk music for broadcast, including the most famous ones, these which are still performed to this day. I know that there's this guitar player named...
My favorite Polish song is Hej Sokoli. I think I've played it to you guys, but I'm gonna show you guys at the end of the video Hej Sokoli. Many have heard this. I think it's back from the times of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, but I'm not sure since when it is.
Jakub Zychecki, and he is amazing.
Thank you, Keith. And now the most complicated part, history. In the quickest way I can condense it, Slavic tribes and states in the Vistula Basin, Piast Dynasty, Greater Poland, Christianity and tribal unification, Pomerania is annexed, this dude becomes the first king, feudal disintegration, Mongols invade, Czechs invade, Teutonic Knights invade, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Swedes invade, Prussians invade, end of the Commonwealth, Constitution written, Napoleonic Wars, Kingdom of Poland and Free State of Krakow, Russian partitions and Russian Poland, World War I, Polish-Soviet War, independence from Russia, Germany invades, World War II begins, communism years, independence, weird West Germany stuff, some other interesting things like they got a Pope and a Nobel Peace Prize, first fully free elections, they joined NATO and the EU, and here we are today! Some people, you guys, the Polish geography suggested we mentioned in this episode.
Aren't they also in the United Nations? I don't know if they are, but I think they are.
Episode include all those dukes and kings.
Wow.
Pretty much any hero that fought with the winged hussars. Copernicus, although he was technically German. Marie Curie was actually Polish. Mikołaj Rai, Pope John Paul II. All these athletes, these directors, all these artists and musicians. The dude from the movie The Pianist was a real guy. These American revolutionaries. And speaking of Americans, John Krasinski, Kristen Bell, Steve Carell, and Roman Polanski are also part Polish. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. And finally, of course, Grzegorz
Hold on. Also get this. Grzegorz Breży. Okay. Hold on a minute. I need a little bit to pronounce this. Okay. Grzegorz Breży. Okay. Wait, no. Brzeziszkiewicz. Witz. I think I forgot the Tianta.
And there's a lot more I could have mentioned, but that would take way too long. There's a lot of famous Poles all over the world. They've left their global mark. And speaking of global marks, that brings us to...
The more ads they get, the less likely the chance of down in this game.
As a central player in Europe for a long, complicated history, it's no surprise Poland has picked up quite an entourage over many, many years of Polish existence. For one, as part of the Visegrad group, the Czechs and Slovaks are generally considered the close West Slavic brothers. They've had very few wars and conflicts with them. They understand their languages, kind of.
With Hungary, I don't think with they have had. I only think of one war, one whole war. It's not even a war, where where Poland took one part from Czechoslovakia. This part here was actually given to Poland. I don't know if that was a war or something, but
However, they both kind of think the other sounds funny when they talk. For Russians, it's more of like a people versus government thing. As people, Poles and Russians get along quite well on a human level. It's just the governments that often disagree and clash. Poland for a while was under the Iron Curtain and Warsaw Pact, which complicated.
Warszawski Dogovor. Okay, let's see if actually all of them are here. Okay, Bulgaria, Hungary, Germany, Poland, Romania, Soviet Union, and Czechoslovakia. Yes.
Things even more. But as crazy as things get, there is always kind of like this universal Slavic understanding, which is why Ukraine comes in as a pretty close friend. Ukrainians love to come to Poland for work. There is also a fast-growing Ukrainian community, and they kind of share a similar post-communist struggle alliance, although they still kind of don't like how Ukrainians honor the UPA, which is a whole other story. Poland is kind of like Germany's biggest regret that they have to constantly be reminded of literally every day, as they are neighbors, but they are the largest economic partner for them as well. Germany does have many bilateral relations with Poland. It's the 21st century, people have grown up and moved on, and the future looks bright mostly between the two. Quick note, Lithuania is like the divorced wife that they remember having some of the best years of their history.
I did not know the Commonwealth extended all the way to Estonia. I only thought it literally went to right here at Latvia, maybe at Volga, but I didn't know. Wait, I muted this accidentally.
Understanding everything the other is thinking without a single word. Their best friend, however, every Pole has told me the same thing, Hungary. Historically, they've shared some of the same monarchs, heroes. They've always helped each other in times of need. There are many parks and monuments commemorating the friendship between the two. There's even a saying in Polish, two brothers.
Hold on. Olak Jäger, dwa bratinki I do swabili I do swankili. Pole, Hungarian, dwa bratinki, two brothers, for some sort of sword. Okay, I don't know Polish too well.
Both to the saber and the bottle. In conclusion, let's give this to Conrad. Conrad, what do you have to say?
Poland is a country that has a lot to offer both geographically and has been through pretty much everything historically. It's been an empire, it's been completely erased from the map, and today Poland
It's been a duchy, the Duchy of Warsaw.
Is a growing and thriving country. I'm sure that the role of Poland on the European scene will only grow.
Thank you, Conrad, and thank you, Art, for being in this episode.
Stay tuned. Portugal is coming up next, guys.
Well, probably gotta react to Portugal some other day. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for today's reaction. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and goodbye. Oh, hold on a minute. Sharp.